All right, in this video, I'm going to go over how you can create a virtual environment for a Python project. And this tutorial assumes that you have Python up and running and that you're using Python in Visual Studio Code. I show you how to do both of those things in separate videos that I'll link in the description. But let's get started. This is actually not too complicated a process. Just a couple things you got to keep in mind. The first thing is you're going to want to create a folder on your computer. I just created one on my desktop and I called it Python folder. I'm going to recommend you probably don't do what I did and either have an underscore between the names if you're going to have two names, two words in your name of your folder, or just have it all run together with no space. Probably the best bet. So anyway, once you have a folder, you're going to go in Visual Studio Code and you're going to go File, Open Folder, and open the folder. And that will be your project that you're going to set up the virtual environment in. And so the first thing you need to do then is make sure in terminal window, it should be by default, it should match the folder here, should match what you have here. If it does not, you need to move to it. And so I'll just kind of show you what that looks like. If I get out of this folder, which I can do cd // and now I'm just right in my desktop. To get back into that folder, because I use two words, I actually have to put this in single quotes, which is annoying, and that's kind of why you shouldn't do that. So I just type that in there. And so now I'm in Python folder. It matches what's up here. Visual Studio always shows this in cap letters, though in reality it's not. If you see it, this is how it's laid out on my desktop. So anyway, all right, there you go. So we're in that folder. That was a little long-winded, but I just want to make sure you have to be in the folder that you're going to work in, and that's where you're going to create your virtual environment. So then you put in this command. You put in Python 3 space -m space and then venv, which this is the command to create a virtual environment, and then give the name of the folder. I just put the name of the folder as venv. It's kind of standard to do that. You don't have to, though. You can name that whatever you want. And once you run that, it's going to create that folder that's going to contain all the kind of behind the scenes files for your virtual environment. And then Visual Studio Code is also going to pop up and saying, we noticed you made a virtual environment. Do you want to select it for this workspace folder? If you hit yes here, which is not a bad idea, every time you open this folder, it will automatically start your virtual environment, which again is handy. And honestly, this folder should only be for that virtual environment, so that would work well. However, if you select no here, then you're going to have to start the virtual environment every time you open this folder. And to do that, you would put in the keyword source space and then the name of that folder, which was venv, then /bin /activate, and that would start the virtual environment. And you know you're in the virtual environment when you have this little parentheses and the name of the folder that is the name of your virtual environment, right? And so just so you see that here, this is what it looks like when I'm in it, and it should match whatever the name of this folder is here. All right, and that's it. Now when you start running, building files, running your code, you are in that virtual environment. And so one other thing I'm going to point out, though, when you go and run your code in this virtual environment, I'm going to suggest you don't use the play button up here, which works ideally, but when you're in a virtual environment, I've found this to be problematic. It doesn't always actually run that code in the virtual environment. And so to ensure that as long as you have that parentheses showing, you can put in Python 3 space and then the name of your Python file, and that will run it in the virtual environment. You'll be ensured that you're using the libraries that you loaded in the virtual environment, everything that's associated with that virtual environment. However, when you run this, it sometimes just runs it in the global version of Python that might not have the libraries that are specific to this virtual environment. So I'm going to recommend that you type that in the command line there to run. If you need to stop your virtual environment anytime, you just put in the keyword deactivate. You see when you put in deactivate, it actually, the next line, you know you're out of it because you don't see the venv in the parentheses at the start of the line. So that means you were out of it. Just keep in mind, though, that if you pressed yes at the beginning here, to this, the next time you open Visual Studio Code, it will automatically load and activate the virtual environment. If you didn't press yes, then you would need to go ahead and just put in that line of code that I talked about earlier, where you put source venv bin activate. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to have some follow-up videos, though, where I show you some interesting things you can do in a virtual environment. But this is how you get started. I hope you found that helpful. Let me know if this works out for you and if you have any questions. Thanks.